welcome to Diecast Restos. I'm Jason and this is a Siku V273 Ford 15M. It was produced from 1967 to 1969. As far as I can tell, it was only ever available in this turquoise-green colour. It had plastic headlight inserts, opening doors, and folding tilting front seats. The tail lights were trimmed in red, between which the words Taunus can be seen. Here's one in mint condition. And this is a real Ford Taunus 15M P6 generation. The Ford Taunus was a family car sold by Ford Germany throughout Europe. It was named after the Taunus mountain range to the northwest of Frankfurt. It was introduced in 1939 as a development of the Ford Eiffel. Production was interrupted between 1942 and 1948 due to World War II. However, it returned with a different internal code and was in production until 1952. 7,128 were made in sedan, estate and light van form. From 1952 to 1968, the Taunus M series was in production, which is where this casting takes its name. The Taunus P112M was the first new German Ford following the war. It had ponton styling similar to the British Ford Zephyr, while it was driven by a similar side-valve 1172cc engine producing 38 horsepower. In 1955, the 1498cc four-cylinder overhead valve engine 15M was released. This more powerful engine produced 55 horsepower. Both engines carried over to the revised second generation, though both took the 12M name. The larger engined car was simply called the 12M 1.5 litre. This model continued to use the P1 internal code. The 1952 to 1959 12M and 55 to 59 15M was available as a two-door sedan, two-door estate and sedan delivery. These body styles carried over to the 1959 to 62 models. In 1962, the new Taunus 12M P4 launched. It was similar in size to its predecessor, but had a new body, new V4 engine, and it was the first Ford car with front-wheel drive. The engine options were an 1183cc 40 horsepower unit or a 1498cc 50, 55 or 65 horsepower unit. The body styles matched the P1, though it now had a four-door sedan option. In 1966, the new P6 generation launched, which this casting is based on. The body styles continued as seen on the P4 generation. The P6 saw the return of the 15M name. The 12M had an 1183cc or 1305cc V4 engine, while the 15M carried a 1498 or 1699cc V4 power plant. It had a significant facelift in 1967, which was marked by the removal of the Taunus name. Cars were now referred to as either the Ford 12M or 15M. The 12M had round headlights, while the 15M, like the casting, had rectangular ones. The 12M had lozenge-shaped tail lights, while the 15M again had rectangular ones. This was confused though by the 12M having a cost option to have a 15M engine fitted. While 668,187 P6s were built, it failed to keep pace with the German auto market. In 1970, Ford ceased to manufacture front-wheel drive cars. Instead, they built tried and tested and, according to them, cheaper to build rear-wheel drive cars. This would continue until 1976 with the arrival of the Ford Fiesta. As such, the 12M 15M Taunus was replaced by two models. The smaller British Ford Escort was adapted for the European market. At the upper end of the market, the British Ford Cortina Mark III based Taunus TC launched. I spoke about this more in my recent Matchbox Ford Cortina custom video. The Taunus name carried on in conjunction with the Cortina until it was replaced by the Ford Sierra in 1982. Between 1957 and 1971, there were also further larger executive Taunus models available. These carried 17M, 20M and 26M badging. The first generation of these bigger cars was known as the P273 and ran from 1957 to 1960. This was styled after the American 1955 Fords and carried significant tail fins. For 1960 to 64, the restyled 17M P3 appeared in streamlined form. Critics compared its styling to a bathtub, its front end reminiscent of a 61 Thunderbird. Then in 1964, the P5, 17M and 20M arrived, again significantly restyled. The 17M had a V4 engine, while the 20M was equipped with a V6. The final iteration of the larger Taunuses was the P7, which ran from 1967 to 68. It was then restyled following shrinking sales. This car was known as the P7B. This was sold up until 1971. Anyway, after that relatively comprehensive history of the Taunus, I'm now putting mine back together, which is a bit fiddly with those loose-fitting doors. This push fits at the front due to a narrow rivet post. So here's how my Siku V273 looked earlier. It's significantly paint thinned. It certainly has seen better days. Thankfully, unlike some of my previous vintage Siku efforts, it has all of its parts intact, including the tilting front seats. While it has quite a boxy rectangular shape, Siku have cast in a lot of great detail to this model, particularly the badges. So let's take a look at my 15M now. The whole model has been refreshed with a clean of all of the plastic parts, the grille and base section polished with metal polish, and the paint, while not a perfect match, is a lot better with a fresh, smooth coat. The wheels look cleaner with a washing of Citadel gloss, while the tail lights have been filled in with a dab of red from my Artistro paint pen. Personally, I really like these vintage Siku models, especially ones like this that I'd never have had in my own collection as a kid. I appreciate the touches like the plastic push-fit headlights and the folding front seats. But anyway, that is all from me for now. If you've enjoyed this little project, please do leave the video a like. Pop your thoughts in the comments and do subscribe if you haven't yet. Thanks to my Patreon and YouTube members for your continued support. So all that leaves me to say is thank you for watching, and I'll see you again for the next one. Bye for now.